It sounds like science fiction, or even the plotline to the 1997 film Face Off, about an FBI agent who has a facial transplant and assumes the identity of the movie's main villain. But for Andy Sandness, face transplant surgery became a reality when he had to face some unfortunate circumstances. Sandness went through a rough patch in his life, which started way before his face became so badly disfigured. After struggling with depression, he finally gave in and attempted to end his life, but he managed to survive. What came next is nothing short of a true and modern miracle. Hello, wonderful people. I'm Scott Leffler for Wonderbot, and here is this man got a life-changing face transplant after a failed suicide. Before we begin, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, and click the notification bell for more amazing videos. Two days before Christmas in 2006, Andy Sandness from Wyoming had suffered a breaking point. At the time, he was a 21-year-old man who drank more than usual because he was feeling very depressed. In fact, it was safe to say that he felt as though he'd reached his lowest point emotionally. One night after he got off work, he grabbed a rifle from his closet and stared at it for a moment. Then he put a round in the chamber and was determined to end his life. So he placed the barrel under his chin, braced himself with a deep breath, and pulled the trigger. Sandness realized that he'd made a huge mistake. In fact, when cops arrived, one of the officers, who was also a friend of his, took him in his arms to comfort him. But Sandness, who was still alive, regretted what he did and screamed, "Please, please don't let me die. I don't want to die." Sandness was treated at 2 hospitals before being taken to the Mayo Clinic. There, Dr. Samir Mardini, a facial reconstruction plastic surgeon, told Sandness that he would do his best to fix his face. "I just need you to be strong and patient," he told him. This was difficult without a nose, jaw, and only 2 teeth, but Sandness was resilient. At first, he needed breathing and feeding tubes, but over 4.5 months, he'd undergone 8 surgeries before he returned home. But he was a different man now. He started working as an electrician's apprentice at a lodge and avoided kids and a social life so he wouldn't scare people. His dad, Reed, told the AP he was insecure. Dr. Mardini from the Mayo Clinic called Sandness in the spring of 2012 because the clinic was launching a face transplant program. Mardini felt that Sandness would be an ideal candidate. Despite being told about the hefty preparation he needed to face, as well as the risks involved with the surgery, Sandness immediately asked, "How long until I can do this?" Dr. Hatem Amer, Mayo's medical director of reconstructive transplantation, told the AP, "He wasn't rushing us and we weren't rushing him." Sandness had to undergo social work and psychiatric evaluation, which determined he was a viable candidate. So in January 2016, he went on the United Network for Organ Sharing's waiting list. Now all Sandness and the doctors had to do was wait. He spent 3 years being evaluated to see if he was worthy of the surgery after attempting to commit suicide. Fortunately, he had a strong support system of family and friends. What he needed now was a donor, which he received after 21-year-old Kaylin Ross took his life and left his then 19-year-old widow, Lily, and their unborn child alone. Suddenly, the gift of life was knocking on Mr. Sandness's door. Lily Ross had allowed Kaylin Ross's heart, lungs, liver, and kidneys to be donated, but she was iffy on the face donation at first. "I was skeptical at first," Lily said. "I didn't want to walk around and all of a sudden see Kaylin." But she gave her consent, and scans confirmed Kaylin Ross was an incredible match. So much so that doctors couldn't believe how much these 2 men looked alike. Dr. Mardini believed it would take 5 years to find a facial match, but it ended up only taking a miraculous 5 months. Still, he considered this issue to be a blessing, albeit an extremely complicated one to perform. So on June 16, 2016, 60 surgeons, nurses, anesthesiologists, and other staff conducted the complex 56-hour surgery, which was a first-time experience for the Mayo Clinic. It took approximately 24 hours just to get the donor's face, which included removing bone, muscle, skin, and nerves. It also took about the same time to get Sandness's face ready for the transplant, since now doctors had to reattach the nose, cheeks, mouth, lips, jaw, chin, and teeth that came from the late Kaylin Ross. Dr. Mardini considered the complicated surgery to be nothing but a miracle after rebuilding Sandness's face for over 32 hours. The team underwent several rotations, plus 4-hour breaks. Sandness said, "Once you lose something that you've had forever, you know what it's like to not have it. And once you get a second chance to have it back, you'll never forget." Sandness recalls Dr. Mardini telling him, "Andy, I've never lied to you. I'm telling you, you're going to be happy with what you see." And he wasn't exaggerating. There was something Sandness realized the moment a little boy crossed his path 3 months later. The boy looked straight at him and didn't freak out when he saw his new face. Lily Ross, Kalen's widower, eventually got in touch with Sandness to tell him more about who Kalen was when he was alive. She wanted Sandness to know more about her high school sweetheart, who was a giving person and who used to love hunting with his dog. "I'm filled with great joy knowing that he was able to give a little of himself to ensure a better quality of life for someone else." Lily and Andy Sandness met face-to-face in October 2017 at the Mayo Clinic. When Andy walked into the room, I was so overwhelmed I burst into tears. He didn't look like Rudy, apart from his rosy cheeks and a small hairless patch of skin on his chin, she added. For the next hour, we didn't stop talking. Lily's son would never get a chance to meet his father, Kalen. But the reason why she'd agreed to the face transplant was so that her son would be proud of his father someday. The reason I decided to go through with it was so that I can later down the road show Leonard what his dad had done to help somebody. Sandness had to undergo speech therapy so he could learn how to enunciate words clearly with his new mouth and jaw. But aside from getting a new face, he's also gotten other things back, like his sense of smell. He can also eat foods like pizza, steak, and apples after years of being deprived these things. Sandness is hopeful of his future as an electrician and would like to marry and start a family someday. In the meantime, he wants to enjoy his anonymity after spending a lot of time in the spotlight. He even attended an ice hockey game post-op and no one stared or even noticed him. Sandness has no intention of wasting the wonderful gift that he's received. He's on anti-rejection medicine and often massages his face while he retrains his nerves. He's also proving that his outlook on life truly changed, as he's now more open and social. "I'm just really spreading my wings and doing the things I missed out on, going out to restaurants and eating, going dancing." Kalen's son, Leonard, did get to touch his dad's face. During Sandness's meeting with Lily, Leonard waved at him to pick him up. Given what the child's father did for him, Sandness intends to contribute to a trust fund for Leonard's education, which he can afford to do since he got promoted to an oil field electrician.